Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Motivational Moments. I am so excited to be able to share some thoughts and some tips and techniques with you on this glorious May Day. I hope that you all had a very nice Mother's Day, whether you're a mother or you're treating your mother to a special event or lunch or just a hug. Good for you. Anybody that you know that is like a mother, they need to be celebrated. So I always think it's a special, special day. And I was lucky enough to go to Washington, D.C. to see our son Connor and spend Mother's Day with him and my husband Stan, seeing the sights, going to nice places for dinner and lunch. And then Connor and I got to cook together on Monday night, which was fabulous. I love being able to share that experience with him, old family recipes, and just to spend quality time together. And that's really what it's all about. I originally was going to talk to you about magnificent moments in May, making this month memorable. And I think it is all what we make it to be, but I think it's important for us to try to make it special, whatever that is, whatever it looks like for you and for your friends and your family and whoever you want to include in your memorable May. I was really touched by the recent Kentucky Derby race. Not that I saw it, I read about it, and I almost didn't believe the article I read on Facebook. I was like, is this true? Did this really happen? And for those of you who don't know, I'm going to read you some of the stats about the horse that won the 148th Kentucky Derby this weekend because it's an against all odds story. And it's just amazing to me that this happened. And the fact that this particular horse was a real long shot, but he won. So let me read some of these stats to you. It's also posted on the Women with Guts community page because I posted that the other day. I just couldn't believe it. So now, if you haven't seen it, I do want to read you some of the stats that will give you the entire picture of what happened, how it happened, and then you can decide why it happened. Okay, so here we go. All right, the name of the horse is Rich Strike. Yep, and this horse did strike it rich. $1.86 million in this race. Now, this horse, according to this article, it entered the race the day before, 30 seconds before the deadline. This horse only got into the race because the 20th horse had to scratch that same day. This horse started from the worst post position on the outside of the track. This horse had to make his way through the field of 19 other horses from the back. So just visualize that, right? His race career, he had 7 starts and 1 win. His jockey, Sonny Leone, he had never been to the Kentucky Derby. His trainer, Eric Reed, has never raced a horse in the Kentucky Derby. You start getting the drift here, anything is possible. Eric Reed also tragically lost nearly 24 racehorses in a big barn fire a few years ago and thought about quitting. Can you imagine 24 racehorses? I mean, how devastating. And this was his livelihood and his personal connection to these beautiful animals and all the work that went into each and every one of them to be prize winners. Devastating. He also lost 2 assistant trainers just last year to cancer. Now, most people would just give it up, right? Wow. Try to do try to create a new career, try to do something different because the odds were stacked against him. Now, this horse, Rich Strike, was purchased in a claiming race last fall for only $30,000, and the odds were 80 to 1. So, this was a real chance that the owner took in purchasing this horse. What's really interesting about this is, of course, the racehorse, you know, he didn't know he was a long shot. He didn't know he was 80 to 1. He really didn't even know that he was entered at the last minute. And that was only because another horse had scratched, and so that there was room for one more. So the horse didn't know that. He also didn't know that the trainer and the jockey had never won the Kentucky Derby. So Rich Strike just did what he felt he needed to do, was to run and win. He even had enough energy after a mile and a quarter, it says, to give hell to the pony horse, whatever that means. And since I didn't watch the race, I'm not quite sure. I'm sure there's replays on YouTube, and it would be fascinating to watch. But I wanted to share those facts and the backstory about this particular Kentucky Derby. And there's more to that story because I did a little bit of more research because I said, well, how has this affected maybe other families? Now, mind you, I just did a quick research because I wanted to do this for you today and quickly just have a backstory of one family that it may have affected. And as we know, it has affected mm, lots of people around the world because of the, the strategic win of this race and the guts that this horse and the trainer and the owner had to even enter this horse against all odds. But they did. So I read this story about a family in Indiana. And this family, they bet big gamblers or anything. It's just something fun that this family likes to do. And when I was reading this story, they claim that the way they place a bet, they bet online, is the way they pick their horses. It's number one, they read about them and they look at the stats, but also they like the name. And then they also have a particular gut feeling about a certain horse in a race. So, this backstory about this family in Indiana I thought was really interesting because they feel that because Rich Strike had won, that they feel it was divine intervention. And I'll tell you why. So, in this tradition of their family picking a horse to win in the Kentucky Derby or place or whatever, how they do their procedure, but they do it as a family. This is the first time ever that the whole family agreed on this one particular horse called a Rich Strike. It was unanimous. And it's funny because they all felt that this particular name and this particular horse, everything resonated with them. So that helped them to guide that situation. They also would bet with their father, but he had passed away several years ago. And so they were joking as a family that, Dad's not here, but maybe on the other side, he's going to help us win, or he's going to be behind us, or maybe he's going to give us a sign, or whatever. So they were really focusing on hopefully getting some sort of divine intervention and maybe getting a message from their dear old dad. So, anyway, um, they talk about this in this article. It says, I know all this sounds probably crazy, but it was just a feeling. And then when the horse, they said, came from behind and on the last turn, he won that race. That's like crazy tunes, right? Anyway, it was amazing. The whole family was like screaming and yelling and hooting and everything. And they were saying, I bet the neighbors plus think we're all crazy. They won. How much did they win? $30,000, I believe. Isn't that unbelievable? Yes, they did. No, 25,000. That's right. 80 to 1 odds in the 148th Derby. 25,000. Now, we can all say, wow, were they lucky? Maybe they are. They probably are. Was it divine intervention? Who knows? Was it fun and exciting and exhilarating? You bet. But here's the takeaway. When you think about our own lives and you think about how we look at things and how we maybe sometimes hold ourselves back from achieving something because we may feel that we don't have enough knowledge, we may not have enough experience, we don't have enough confidence, we may feel that we're not worthy. But when you think about all those qualities and thoughts that may hold us back, I want you to really think about this race on so many different levels. Think about against all odds, 80 to 1. Think about this race where this horse had never been in the Kentucky Derby, and neither had the jockey. And this horse entered the race at the last minute. I mean, the whole story is just an unbelievable miracle story. So I'm encouraging all of you to create your own miracles in your own lives. What horse do you want to race? What kind of race do you want to be in? What can you visualize? What can you affirm? And what can you do to be against all odds? Maybe it doesn't even have to be 80 to 1. But don't let things hold yourself back. Be strong. Be a racehorse. And you don't know unless you try. So just get out there. Push yourself a little bit. Go against the odds. And I hope you win the race, whatever race that is. Let's give it a shot, shall we? Have a fabulous day. See you next week.